So this broadcast won't be recorded.
Oh,
Who cares?
a
Who cares?
boo-hoo.
It's Mental Health Monday.
Mental Health
We're
Monday.
back
It's been
again.
been a couple weeks
Yeah, it took a
since we
little week
came at
off. It
you.
was the holidays. It was the
Yeah,
holidays, or the start
Thanksgiving.
of it.
It
You
was your
know,
birthday too last week. Happy late birthday
right?
again. Yeah,
Yeah,
if nobody knows.
thank you. I had
That was
a great time. Thanks for everybody who came out. I had a very nice birthday, so thank
that
you,
was that
everybody.
was the Mental Health Monday last week. So
Yeah,
very nice, very nice, very nice.
yeah. We still kept the mind right last Monday. We didn't
Hmm.
falter on that. Um, yeah, it was a good time. I was glad everybody came out. Um, and yeah,
And yeah,
yeah. And that's our show. Thanks for joining us. I hope
thank you
that
guys. We'll see you
mine is right.
next
Just wanted
Monday.
to tell you about my birthday party, and we'll catch you next week.
I hope you had that mind right.
Mental Health
Another week.
Monday.
Yeah, another
Yeah.
week. We're getting through right now into the thick of the holidays, in between
Hmm.
Thanksgiving and Christmas is always, to me, the thick of these holidays that can get
Oh yeah.
people in their feels
Oh,
big
for sure.
time.
For sure. For sure. That's why. You know, the last time we were here for Mental Health Monday, we were talking on seasonal depression and everything, and I think we're definitely now getting into the thick of that, just like you just said, for sure. Um, I'm sure it's ramping up for some people. You know, even today, talking to my mom, we were talking about some Christmas stuff, and it's already like some of the shit that's already. It's like we're not my family personally, like my immediate family. We're just not fans of the drama at Christmas. Like it's like we'd rather just chill. You know, it's Christmas. Like have a good time. Sheesh.
I
Which I
buy it.
vibe with that. I vibe with that
Yeah.
super hard.
Hmm.
Um, you know, they try to make it, my mom's thing is like with them going to Florida and stuff for Christmas and everything, like they're just trying to kind of remove uh things from the equation to make things because like my sister's married now and we are all getting to that point in life where we're growing up, we're expanding our family, like, and so like with my sister getting married, they're gonna have to run all over the place, go to this Christmas, go to that Christmas, blah 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 blah. And my parents know how that feels, and they're just like, we want to take that out of the equation. Don't worry about us. If you want to come and see us, you can come and see us in Florida or wherever. You can always come to the house in the morning on Christmas, wherever. And I appreciate that, and I plan on
Damn, I kind of want to go see
continuing that.
him. I want to go see him on Christmas myself.
Yeah,
And
I wouldn't be opposed.
yeah, in
I
Florida.
wouldn't be opposed. We never did take our trip.
That was the plan. There's many planned things that we had over this the course of this past year.
I started
Uh,
thinking about that today.
at the Chase and Shep show. Plenty, which ties into today's theme of,
It does.
your fantasies and coming, face to face with them.
Hmm.
You'll always have forks in the road where you're gonna make a choice, and
Yeah.
sometimes the choice is hard. Sometimes the choice is not that hard. Sometimes it's a pretty
Mhm.
easy choice. Just depends really on what it is. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was one of the many things that was, a fantasy type of
Mhm.
thing that we had talked about over the summer was going on, like, oh, we should, people always
Yeah.
go on vacations. We do this and that. We should do
Mhm.
a whole
It
week,
was,
kind of like
I don't even remember what we were calling it, but we were, it was something. Summer break, I think is what we were saying, like chasing shit up summer break,
I
where
think
we
it
were
was
gonna
like
go to
Jason Shep on the road or something.
some shit. We were gonna go down to Florida. But in its play, had we done that, we wouldn't have had the time to film summer camp. That's what we ended up doing instead. And even
I
now,
always
I was
assumed they went hand in hand, like we would have just taken a break for a week, like,
right,
oh,
right.
and
that
headed
was
down there.
that was before
Well,
the
I mean,
reality faced us.
that's
Yeah.
when you have, yeah, all these,
Hmm.
ideas in your head that it's just going to run smoothly before the reality sits in, that
Yeah.
things never run smoothly.
Well, even today, even since you left, and I've been kind of looking stuff over, I think something to take into next year for sure is, um, and I know you're you're a big supporter of this, of just like not being like, hey, this is what we're doing, everybody, until like we know, no, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely a lot of that this year. Like as I'm watching our summer camp stuff, I was thinking about how I said I was going to put together the making of and have that out at the end of the show, and I'm sitting here watching this like I've got no desire, like I've got no desire to like do that shit now, because we're still working on stuff with summer camp and all sorts of stuff, and who knows, maybe down the line we'll release it with the end cut, the final cut of summer camp. So it's not off the table, just moved, you know.
Just
Uh,
shelved for the moment. It's just one of those
Man,
things that you got sitting there and waiting on. You never know what sort of once you take away that whole deadlines and stuff like that, you never know what could come up. You might
yeah,
be bored, have a little bit of time. We got to look at the reality of the world we're living in with the Omnicon,
mhm,
whatever
yeah,
Transformers sound and COVID popping up now, and things might shut down. So you might get
yeah,
time. We might get some time popping up where those projects are like, let's get that done and do it. But
mhm.
you know,
Yeah. And on the flip side of that too, it's like I'm not disappointed, that none of those things came to fruition. I much rather would have more ideas to be able to draw from than the
well,
opposite,
and the
where we're
footage is still
constantly
there.
just like, what do we do? We don't know what to do. It's like we got too much to do,
Well,
you
yeah,
know?
and with that thing in particular, the footage is still there,
Hmm.
and the footage
Right.
isn't going. It's not like we're like, we're not going to do that idea, delete, like, and it's
Right.
gone now. It's still there. It's just not going to be prioritized because by the
Yeah.
time, you know, and it is, and that was one of the biggest things I thought. When I told you earlier, I've been listening to the It's Always Sunny podcast that these
Hmm.
guys have been doing, the three main dudes, and that's one of the things they were talking about on the one I was listening to today, where they were talking about a rap party. They're like, oh yeah, at the end of this first season, there was the joke that they were saying somebody did at the rap party, but they're like, that's a big thing, because it kind of gives you that feeling of like things are done. They're,
Hmm.
and this is before you're editing and stuff. So you're not done with it, but
Right.
you're
Yeah.
done filming. And that for all the hands, everybody on set and everybody involved, it's a
Hmm.
way to pat yourself on the back. And I feel like, the situation we got ourselves into with this, it's like that kind of things or
Hmm.
why you feel unresolved about things at the moment, because it's like
Oh, for sure.
it's
Yeah.
it's it's not quite there, but I mean we got our game plan on our own
Hmm.
to put our own chase and ship twist on where we're at with it and what we're doing and get the thing done and finished and out to the world like
Yeah.
at
In
some
my
point.
head, like the rap party for us when I know everything is done is when we're sitting in the theater watching it.
Right, right,
That'll
right.
be our final nail in the coffin on that. But yeah, we I know you and I got into the meat of it that we're not going to get on into on the show today. But like what spawned today's theme, was you know like the description says. We all have fantasies, we all have dreams, of all sorts of kinds, whether that be filmmaking, whether that be music, whether that be somebody you love, all sorts of different fantasies that go through people's heads of like, man, wouldn't it be great if like, or man, this is the life I want to live. This is what I want, and in your head, that sounds really good because all you're thinking about is that scenario, but you're not thinking about the challenges that come with it. And as I found myself in a situation this weekend, I went to ask a question and I was afraid of the answer, and that alone intrigued me. From that moment, before I ever even asked the question, I was asking myself, why am I afraid of the answer on the other side of this question? Especially knowing that that's the answer that I want, but not really. Like something about it scares me. But what the fuck is scaring me so much about it? And then talking to our buddy last night, just having this realization of, well, it scares me because on the other side of that answer, on the other side of that answer is the reality of a fantasy, you know, and with that being the case, I have to start thinking that's why it's so nerve wracking. To get the other answer, the fantasy stays a fantasy and everything gets to be easy breezy. You don't have to do a thing. As opposed to the flip side, if your fantasy is now becoming a reality, that means you're going to have to start putting in work if you want it to become a reality. That means there's going to be obstacles. That means there's going to be challenges, and you have to face that. And I know I had that earlier this year when we started doing summer camp. Uh, of that, I want to be a filmmaker. I want to make movies. This is what I want to do with my whole life. And then we started doing it, and I had to start really analyzing some shit because we we learned a lot this year. when it comes to this stuff. And I really had to face that fantasy. I really had to sit down with myself and be like, yo, is this really what you want? Because if it's really what you want, here are the things that you're going to have to do to make it work. Here are the challenges that you're always going to have to deal with. Here are the ones that might be temporary. I just had to mold that over in my mind. But it's easy to get lost in a fantasy and just think like, oh yeah, if this situation ever came up, I'd fucking jump on it in a heartbeat. And it's like, in theory.
Well, yeah, no, the fantasies sound great. With mine is always doing music, so of course,
Mhm,
like you have this fantasy of, man, you make a song, everybody's gonna like it, they're gonna all listen to it, everybody everywhere is gonna jam it, every sports game is gonna be jamming it, all this kind of
mhm,
stuff. Um, but you don't like, like I looked at musicians that I really liked, and luckily they were real about the shit that they were going through and whatnot. And a lot
mhm,
of them were like, you know, honest about the lifestyle and being like, man, you think that this is all fun and games until you're playing a show, and it's really late, and then you got to catch a flight from LA to New York, and while you do that, you lose 4 hours because time zone differences. So by the time you
mhm.
get there, you've only slept for 3 hours, and you go right from the airport right into the back of a cab, or a limousine, and you're changing because you got to get to this place to go
Right.
do this one interview, and you're right there, and you're talking, you're explaining yourself for an hour, and then you get done with that, and then you get rushed right over to this next interview, and then by the time you're done, maybe you can get something to eat, and then you got to get to the venue, and then you're practicing for the show that night. And it's just like, a lot of people don't realize that reality of like, a lot of these entertainment jobs aren't fun, and a lot
Right.
of that, it can be fun, and like that, like, even to circle back to me talking the It's Always Sunny guys, like,
Mhm,
even them on their podcast, they talk about like the only part that they think is fun is like when they're on set recording, when those cameras are recording, and they're with their friends just laughing, having fun, filming.
mhm.
Writing sucks, fucking, trying to get the sets design, it fucking sucks.
Right.
Everything else besides the part that the audience is going to see,
Right.
um fucking sucks. And a lot of people don't realize all that work that goes into it
Oh, yeah.
until you're there, and then it's like, well, no wonder. There's a lot of artists you realize, like, music wise, you're like, man, they had that one song and then they were gone. I wonder why and what happened. And it's like, how do you
Mhm.
not know that they didn't go, well, this isn't me, this isn't my fucking life, I ain't doing this.
Yeah.
Because I don't blame them. I don't think that I would ever have a life, um for like a worldwide, everybody knows my face and name
Yeah.
type of fame. I couldn't. I
A lot
I
of this,
wouldn't.
reminds me of, a movie I watched at the beginning of the month that I think is probably my favorite movie of this month that I watched, but, that Kid Cudi documentary that came out at the beginning of, November on Amazon Prime, like, that shit had me sobbing. I was in tears, bro, watching that movie just because I just the whole thing was just so beautiful to me. Like, even in its darkest moments, like, because
Right.
here's somebody who's really pulling back the curtain, and a lot of this is kind of reminiscent of that. And it's very appropriate. Kid Cudi's always been very pro mental health, talking about, all that kind of stuff. And so that's my mental health Monday movie recommendation. There you go.
No, I
Mental
mean,
health
and
movies.
it's facts. I mean, like, there's some celebrities out there that they go buy something different at the fucking grocery store, and there's a fucking 3 articles about them. You know what I mean? And it's just like,
Right.
what kind of life is that? Like,
Yeah.
I've always really disliked, like, for lack of better words to put it, the celebrity worship as a society we've always done. I've always really
Hmm.
disliked it because, like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's musicians I vibe with, there's musicians that, certain moments in my life, it means a lot, but, like, at the end of the day, they're just a regular fucking person. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah, they could put those words, out there into the universe that I could never think of to string along and put it out there in that certain way,
Hmm.
and you gotta give people credit for that, but they're just a regular fucking person.
Right.
So, like, I don't know, man, I've always disliked that. Like, if there
Yeah.
was a way to be like, to where you could, like, have music out that everybody was like, "Yeah, I like this. This is awesome. This helped me get by," and
Hmm.
people liked it, but then when you were out on the streets, motherfuckers wouldn't slap your ass and shit like that.
Well, I think this is a good, because in terms of like facing your fantasy and having to take into account all of these things, Like you get there, and I think that's when you get to a point where you can differentiate what is just going to be a fantasy and what you'd like to actually do, because you have to ask yourself, do I want to put in this work? Is the end goal, is the actual fantasy itself worth all of the work that lies ahead of me, all of the challenges that lie ahead of me? You know, and I think when you can truly like stand 10 toes down and say, yes, I'm willing to go through these things to try, at least try to get to that end goal. That's how you know you want it. Uh, but if you sit there, if you stand there at the precipice of the fantasy and you look forward at all those challenges and you think, fuck that, it's probably a good sign that that's all you ever wanted it to be, was just a
Right.
fantasy.
No, like, see,
You
like, for me at my age now, mid 30s, holler.
Mhm,
Uh, the fantasies and shit I dwell in life, or mainly like things like, you know, what's a fantasy that if never happened and I never did nothing, would just still result in like a better lifestyle for myself, type of thing. Just like
right.
this, like at the end of the day, like if we just never went anywhere and we just
Mhm,
streamed to, people here and there and did our own thing, you know, am I out anything really in life? No,
mhm,
like I've learned a lot of stuff. I've had a lot of good times. Like the mental health Mondays, it's shown me light and, new
mhm.
spots and different ways to think. So it's like improving life. So it's like those are the kind of fantasies like I shoot at in life. Like
Yeah.
where it comes to like, oh, I'd love to be like a pro wrestler. I ain't gonna be no pro wrestler, man. Starting at 34 years old, that ain't gonna happen, man. I hate DDP, okay. And but like, if I was like, fuck, I'm gonna fuck around with this thought really, and I started, working out, getting into shape. I mean, to walk away from that in a better health, better shape, I don't think
Mhm.
is like a bad thing. Like, I don't think
No.
that's because, but evidently, you will have to eventually have that, talk with yourself on, yeah,
Mhm.
okay, that's not gonna happen, dude.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna get there, which is fine, like,
Mhm.
I mean, you can't really beat yourself up too much. I think you should always aim high, but
Mhm.
I don't, it's a
Yeah.
fine line, man. Like, to me, it's always been a fine line in life because I feel like you could either live in a fantasy world,
Mhm.
and think like, oh, or you could be a realist
Yeah.
and look at situations for how they are, black and white, but then that's kind of like a more negative way to be looking at life in certain
Mhm.
situations. Whereas in other situations, living in the fantasy might, be a more be positive way to get by in life.
Right. And by no means, I'm not telling people not to dream, go ahead and
No,
dream your
yeah.
dreams for
No, I
sure.
don't mean that
Dream
either.
big, for sure. I didn't think you were, but just, dream big, but like, it is just recognizing the reality of like, it's like, okay, this is obviously just more fun to think about in theory, like, as opposed to, no, this is actually something that I truly want. Um,
Well, yeah, and it's like looking at it that way because like I broke my son. Good example of that is he came to me once like kind of down because he's like, all my friends were laughing at me because I told him when I grow up I wanted to be a professional football player.
mhm,
And I was like, well, I mean, I don't think that's a bad dream to have at your age. I think he was like 13 or 12 at the time.
mhm,
And it's like, bro, that's not a bad dream to have at that age. Like, hell yeah. Like, I bet I thought the same thing when I was your age. Like, everything's
mhm,
in front of you. I was like, but like, I was like, those kids are looking at it from a real sense where you're looking at it from like your dreaming sense. They're looking at it from
right.
you're in a small ass town in Illinois. The fact that you get into the NFL is going to be an offshoot shoot. Not like
Mhm,
I told him, I was like, but like I was like, those kids that you see do that, I was like, the reason why they do that is because they at a young age they made the choice to be like, no, I actually want to chase that dream. And in summertime, instead of going to Six Flags or just playing video games all summer with their
mhm,
homies and stuff, they were going to football camps all summer. They were going to the state camps and going to the best air coaches in the area that they could find to teach and learn. And they were and they were doing that. So by the time they hit high school, they were like fucking beasts, and they could,
right.
and I was like, there's all the, and I was like, and if you wanted to do that in life, you could. I was like,
Mhm,
but that's the choice you got to make. Like, are you willing to put in that much work to get there? Or do you think that you can just go by your life right now and somehow genetically you're just going to be a big Papa Pump, a genetic fucking freak, and come out the gate like, on the next Tom Brady? It ain't going to happen, bro.
Right. It, along the same lines, as we've both learned in entertainment that when it comes to certain fantasies, um, if it's something you really want, you have to believe in it. You have to believe in your fantasy because nobody else is going to do it for you. In fact, most people are going to hit you with the, oh, you want to be a football player? Oh, you want to make movies? Oh, you want to be a musician? Like fuck all that. You're not going to be successful. Like nobody nobody is going to be in your corner. You'll have supportive people, but nobody's going to believe in your dream like you do. So again, I think that's what sets aside the, like, okay, no, these are the dreams that I believe in. These are the things that I want, that I strive for, you know and being able to just differentiate, like, nah, this can stay in fantasy island, but this is a dream I'd like to make come true. I
Right.
know, going back to something we were talking about earlier too, like, something I know that I thought a lot about and started kind of facing in regards to our YouTube channel here and everything. I look at what makes other YouTubers successful. I've listened to some people that we've even worked with that do things specifically to be more uh what's the word, marketable, I suppose, is a
Mhm.
good way to put it, where it's like they are appealing to the masses. And once you garner like fans and stuff, and they're you and I, we're big nerds, so it's like we're very knowledgeable about fan culture and just how toxic that can become.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, I started thinking, say our show takes off at some point and then we start getting fans. And, the thought to me of having all these people that I'm like bending over backwards for to keep happy sounds fucking miserable to me. Like that sounds like something I want nothing to do with.
Mhm.
Um, you know, that at the end of the day, I want to make things that I enjoy. I want to tell stories that I want to tell. Um, that we have a good time. Like we have a good time making it. We watch it. We enjoy it. This is something we wanted to see. And if other people dig it too, that's awesome. That's fantastic. But I have no interest in playing this game of pandering to the masses, of being like, oh, we made this with extra care and made sure, not to offend anybody, made sure to do this, made sure to do that. And it's like, no, fuck
I mean,
every
it's
bit of
not like, to me,
that.
it's not like, I don't know. I never even think in those terms, I guess, because I never go into any project with intent on like
Mhm.
attacking someone or hurting someone or offending someone, or
Right.
what I'm saying, like,
Mhm.
especially like the summer camp stuff was always in just good fun.
Mhm.
The music, like, hell, I just put out a song about fucking killing children. It's like, man, it's like, it's Halloween,
Yeah.
man, it's a whole
Yeah.
vibe, like, you know what I mean, like, it's not
Yeah. I had to have a
yeah.
talk with myself about this. Like as a writer, like I had to remove myself from other people's thoughts. Yeah, I had to remove the audience from my head in a sense, because like it's one of those things where I have to be my own audience if I'm being a writer. Otherwise, I'm going to block my creativity by thinking to myself, "Oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to fit this. I don't want to," because immediately the story starts getting diluted. Now I'm taking all this shit out where it's like, oh, I'm not putting horrible things in here because I don't want to offend anybody. But these characters are horrible people. They do horrible things. It's like when I heard somebody reviewing the Suicide Squad, and they're just like, they just killed all these innocent people, and they did this and they did that. They're fucking bad guys. They're not good guys. They're saving the world in this movie, but they are bad guys. That's the whole fucking plot of this movie, is that they're all bad guys, but that's the characters that they are. There's no malintent there. That's just who they are. That's the world
Right.
that this is, when you're making entertainment, it's art. Yes, there are people who are very intentional about things, but a big lesson, big takeaway that we got from doing summer camp and just like even other things out in the world recently is people will take whatever the fuck they want from art. No matter what your intention is, no matter how hard you try to avoid certain things, people will read into it however they want. So at the end of the day, fuck it, just do your thing. Tell your
I mean,
story,
we've
write
always
your
said it's
song.
like a perception type of thing,
Hmm.
and I think
For
it
sure.
is. It's just how people perceive it, and like if they want to perceive something a certain way, which sparks a conversation with them. I
Hmm.
mean, I don't think that's bad. I wouldn't
No.
say that's a terrible thing, but I do think there is a very toxic culture,
Mhm.
like anti-toxic culture, a very toxic anti-toxic culture out there
Yeah.
that does, dig into, too much,
Hmm.
like how much is too much, and
Yeah.
like, people apologizing about what they did in like 2012, like,
Hmm.
if they was in high school then, like said some dumb shit and then they got famous now, and then it's like now you need to be held responsible for that. And it's just like I could see if they're
No, I
using
feel
that
you.
platform where they're at now to spread that hate,
Hmm.
but if they didn't have it back then, oh well, who fucking cares, dude? It's ancient history. I've just always
Yeah.
been a the past is the past type of person too. So
Yeah.
like I just
And
don't.
people change.
I mean,
That's something.
there's certain areas that it's like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, thank you for bringing
Right.
that up finally.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that this is like a blanket statement over anything that happened in the past should stay in the past. I don't mean
Yeah.
it like that, but there's a few things that's just like, man, like fucking
Well,
care.
like, for example, like a situation of just good fun, but like a video that I'm just like, one of these days somebody's gonna be like, "What the fuck is this?" Is um I think one of the first times we had John on the Phil and Chase podcast, and we would always do Phil's top fives at the end. And when we had John and Kenny on there, we did the top five women hot enough to kidnap, which like it was clearly just a joke. It was clearly just for fun, but it's just one of those things. People will take whatever they want from it. You know, it is
And
what it is. And on a
it is,
different note,
man.
like not just like in a woke way, people will interpret things however they want. Like for instance, our buddy Dave checked out my short film, A Distinct Lack of Holiday Cheer, and he gave me his interpretation of the ending of that short. I thought it was very interesting, his take on it. I know what the facts are. Like I know that at the end of that movie, spoilers, you know, I shoot myself. My character kills himself at the dinner table. Um, in reality, like that actually happens, and it's just supposed to be this absurdist, dark moment. But Dave was giving me his interpretation of it, and he was like, "Yeah, I kind of took that as like it was maybe a dream because of the way this was done and this was done." And I'm like, "Oh, that was just done out of practicality." But I see where you're coming from, and that's interesting. But just the same as the people who left Halloween Kills and we're talking about how Michael Myers is like Jesus Christ and these are his I'm like, whoa. Whoa, we're watching very different Halloweens, I think. But
Okay then.
people have their interpretations for
Nah, and they
sure.
will. I mean, everybody's gonna have that. And like I said, there's definitely, you know, I don't know. There's things that you can look at and it's like, yeah, that was tasteless, but it is what it is, and stuff that's
Right.
like, all right,
Yeah.
you obviously were had some bad
Mhm.
vibes in your system when you were trying to do this. Like, that's not cool.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and that's how, like, I don't know, man.
We
That's why
definitely pushed buttons with some of the jokes in summer camp, and there's some of them like the one in episode one where I'm like, we're gonna have a gay old time. I mean a good old time, a good old time. Like in the script, that joke is a lot funnier to me as opposed to how it ended up in the show since we actually didn't have kids. Uh, I just thought, had we been able to play that scene out the way we wanted to, hey, speaking, he shall appear. His ears were burning.
I don't know, man. Like, I never looked at that joke in the script as like a sexual innuendo. I always just
Oh
looked
no,
at
no,
it
no! I always saw it
as
as
a
just like a
play
funny,
on,
like,
well, like when I was a kid, and people would always use the term gay as happy still.
mhm. Right, right, right,
But
right.
then, like, as kids, you already knew about, oh, the term gay also means,
Mhm.
homosexual and stuff like that
Right.
too. So you'd be like, oh, when someone's like, oh, they had a gay old time in a book or a song,
Mhm.
everybody'd laugh. And like,
Well,
I
in
look
the
at
in the
it kind of
script, when I
a
say
play
when I
on
say the
the,
line, it's supposed to cut to two gay campers sitting in the front row that I like accidentally lock eyes with, like right as I say it. So it comes across like that's why I said it, and I'm like, That's not what I meant. That's whoops. And it was just supposed to be like a bit of awkward humor, but we didn't have any kids. So in the actual finished project, you just see me say that line and then like look off to the side and be like, I mean, and so it's like the context of the joke is taken away, and just it feels like so much more awkward for the wrong reasons at that point.
It happens, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like those are the, we said it's a uncut version of, a finished product. It's a demo version of a product. So there's
Right.
there's things that you're gonna go back and watch and be like, all right, that didn't land. So you can better yourself, and for the future, you can
Yeah.
try to stick them. You're gonna stick it all.
Yeah, can't stick the
But
landing on everything. Like we
no,
have we have again. It's the first episode. We're just like, welcome to summer camp. We're gonna lay it on thick. The scene with you and John at the beginning of episode one, where you're like, dude, they're 15. I've heard two different types of reactions to that. As expected from a joke like that. But at the end of the day, like we were just talking about earlier, if I was like, oh, we shouldn't do this because people are going to be offended, it's like, no, that doesn't service the character at all. Like John's character in that show is meant to be set up as a scumbag, who becomes likable as the show goes on. That was the original arc of John, was like, we're not quite seeing what this other character is seeing in John. We just see John being,
a
this
skunk.
misogynistic scumbag all the time. Uh, but in the end, we find out, no, he's a loving guy. He just talks a lot of shit and all this other stuff. And so that was one of those things where it's like, I don't care, be offended, because that's not what this is. It's a character. It's not our thoughts. Like, but yeah,
I think a
facing
lot.
the
I don't know.
fantasies.
I think that might be where it comes from. A lot of people think, you're writing a character that must be your thoughts then. And it's like, no, 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 no,
No,
no.
no.
Just trying to interpret how society is within characters. And sometimes
Mhm.
you do that very well. Sometimes you swing and you miss. You know what I mean?
It's
And
gonna happen.
you can argue, oh, it's because it's from a male's perspective. Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
That's
Because
fine.
we're a couple males that made the show. So in the future, we'll check out a different perspective. If it's out there, like give it to me.
Right.
I'll check it out. I don't hate. Just is what it is, man.
Yeah.
We're just here making our dreams a reality, because that's all summer camp was.
Yeah. That's
Is
definitely
is
what it
is
was.
is looking at the dream aspect of
Mhm.
wanting to do something that we didn't see anybody else around doing,
Mhm.
and wanting to do something different. We could have done a movie. We did a short. You know what I'm saying? We could have just been like, "Fuck it, we'll make this movie." Hell, it might have played out a little better had we went into it with just the intent of doing a movie.
Mhm.
Um, with the time that we had, with the amount of people that we had, I feel like that was plenty of time for us to get a movie shot.
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like what people have seen has been a movie's length of shit right now.
Mhm.
But
Yeah. But at the end of the
like
day,
that's not the dream we had. We
yeah.
had a specific fantasy, a specific dream
Mhm.
of being like, no, we want it to be a series, like, a horror series. There wasn't a lot of that going on. Now I know Chucky's out now, you
Mhm.
know, and he's slaying, he's killing it himself,
Yeah.
so that's good. But like there ain't a lot of them, so
Mhm.
it was the dream, and what you're seeing is what you're getting. Yeah, there's some people like John, life pops up, he in the middle of it, and gotta move. That was a choice
Mhm.
he wanted to make with his family, which is baller. We're not gonna
Yeah.
hate. And it's like, well, there's a lot more we wanted to do with your character, but
Yeah.
maybe we'll touch base on that if we can get you to come on back and visit next time we do this.
You got to roll with the punches. That's the fantasy was Summer Camp of Horrors. The original fantasy, Chase and Shep's Summer Camp of Horrors, releasing starting July 4th. About a few weeks after we were initially supposed to start shooting. Um, Big time fantasy. This was a big old fantasy. We didn't realize it at the time. We were just dreaming big. But as we got up to the precipice, as we got up to the precipice of this fantasy, we were faced with a shit ton of reality. The reality of the situation is y'all ain't getting this out on 4th of July. That ain't happening unless you are willing to completely change course and do like a short film or whatever. But for what we sought out to do, that wasn't going to happen. So we had to roll with that. people, like you said, life came up. We would lose people. We'd have to roll with that. And these are just realities and obstacles that, we knew a decent amount of the obstacles and realities we were going into. But there's always still more that'll pop up along the way, and you gotta be willing to face those things. Um, with just our whole year of doing Chase and Shep stuff, I mean, it goes hand in hand with the whole my favorite thing to bring up all the time, the concept of not trying. Just the Taoists, just the way, just chilling, vibing, being like water, going with the flow, taking things as they come, trusting they're going to work out the way they're supposed to. And this whole past year, again, you tell people I'm not trying, and they hear, oh, you're not trying, you're not doing anything. But we put in a lot of work this year. But at the same
Mhm.
time, we weren't necessarily trying to do things. We just did them. We were like, yes, these are the things we'd like to do. And that kind of pulling back, like the trying so hard, opened us up to be able to accomplish so much. You know, and now we've sharpened our skills. And I think going into the next batch of stuff, it's like, again, now we know how to tackle things with a different approach. We know how to avoid some of those stresses, and it's like there's still going to always be work to be done, but you don't have to try so hard to make it
I
happen.
know, because like what, in 2 days, it's been like an official.
Well,
We can say it's. I
technically,
mean, I know we started a few days into December, but we can at least say it's the unofficial official year mark.
yeah. Which I didn't realize when you left earlier, that, like, because we're sitting here talking about doing the 25 Slays of Christmas, and then I was like, oh, that's 2 days from now. It's like, that's 2 days from now. Oh my god, that's this fucking week.
Looks
So
like
that's my bad. I got a little
we're
too
gonna
comfy. I ain't gonna lie.
start off with the classics. It sounds like.
Now I'm curious. I'm curious what our first show dropped. I'm checking to see
I
what the
think it was like
official.
December 3rd or 4th. I'd like to say 5th,
I felt
maybe.
like it was a little farther in. Bow. Let's see here. December 7th.
December 7th.
December 7th. So when we hit you with Slay 7, that's when we'll pop bottles
It's a
to
week from
celebrate.
tomorrow.
Um,
A week from tomorrow.
that's crazy. That's
It
crazy. We're
is.
almost 1 years old. That's insane.
We're
Uh,
almost 1 year old.
I can't
We're out of
believe
our
it.
we're out of our baby phase. And I mean, I like I said, I think it I think it holds up. I think if you watch this stream and you get done and you go back and watch that first one, I think you'd be like, yeah, I can see how those
Yeah,
guys have
they've
have
come
gotten
they've come a ways.
just a little bit more comfortable in front of the camera and talking,
Mhm.
especially with one another. But like, I think the camera was the main thing.
Yeah,
The first one, I just remember, I just basically was like, you know, the whole time, like,
yeah.
yeah,
It's good
I don't
times.
know, it was a good sleigh, but no,
Um,
it's great. Like that's fun. We'll have to do something for next week.
yeah. But yeah, obviously we've talked a lot about facing your fantasies as far as like dream jobs go, but like obviously this applies to a lot of things. Like again, without getting into shit, it's like if you love somebody, so much, and you're just like, this is the person for me, and I would do anything for this person, and that person I want, and then you're faced with the reality of that fantasy of being like, okay, well, I'm the universe, and I'm saying, here's your chance, you may be able to do this, but you have to now face your fantasy and ask yourself, am I willing to put in the work that it's going to take to be with somebody that I want to be with? That goes for any sort of relationship, or however elongated that fantasy is, whether it's fucking 10 years or 10 days, after you met somebody. If you're constantly thinking about this person and you've crafted this fantasy in your mind, you have to start facing the realities of that fantasy, you know and wading through the shit and realizing maybe not everything down this path, like you got to see all the obstacles that are going to be there, but also maybe not everything down this path is going to go the way it goes in your fantasy. You know, it is your fantasy version of a situation. The reality of the situation could be drastically different. And you know, that
Ooh,
goes for
sheesh.
all sorts of stuff. You know, if
Yeah,
you got
I
a
try.
goal, if you got a you know, a relationship goal, if you got a career goal, just life goals in general. If you're like, man, I'd love to have a dog, you know, even if it's just something simple like that. Like, there's always going to be challenges to the fantasy that you're facing.
Oh yeah, that's I try not to romanticize and fantasize people,
Mhm.
just because ain't nobody is going to be as good as you ever dream them up to be.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
feel like, and that goes for everything. You know, like everybody's hype about Spider-Man, but I'm sure there's gonna be plenty of
Mhm.
people that's like,
Oh yeah.
just
And
didn't do it
I'm
for me, man, because I just had this expectation going
right.
into it that
Yeah.
it's gonna be
Oh,
this. And
there's going to be a lot of that
so,
for sure.
like, you know, it's just one of those things that's just like, you know, sometimes you just gotta
Mhm.
keep reminding yourself that
Oh
you
yes.
can, you know, even if you get, you know, 6 out of 10, you still got your fantasy, in my opinion.
Hmm. You know, I'm there's no two ways about it. I'm a romantic guy for sure. Like, you know, just and not just in a like a relationship sense or something like that. Like, just in general, I do romanticize things. But just because I'm romantic doesn't mean I'm delusional. There are those people who are romantic and delusional, but I fall more towards romantic and realistic. You know, it's just like you can just like you can, you know, you can be a realist and be optimistic. You know, you don't have to be a dick to be realistic. Like, I can have hope and still be realistic. You know,
True.
that's where people seem to like feel like that can't be true. It's like they're like, either you just believe in the fantasy and you're denying the reality of the situation, or vice versa. And it's just like, you know,
Oh,
it's like, no,
sheesh.
you don't have to look at it from this standpoint of like, well, this might be the reality of the situation, so I guess it's all fucked, so I guess never mind. You know, it doesn't have to be like that. You know, you can, you know, I always say, hope for the best, expect the worst. You're always going to get the best results out of that. You know, we go into movies all the time with high expectations, and we'll leave more than likely we will leave disappointed with those high expectations. You know, that's not to say we don't get those ones that do hit the mark. You know, but more than likely, if you've set that bar that high, you're probably going to be pretty disappointed. As opposed to if you expect that movie to, you know, if you're expecting the worst, but you're hoping for the best, hell yeah. You know, we kind of talked about it earlier about, like, you know, if you go into a situation not expecting the outcome that you'd like to happen,
Yeah, and
then
then
if it
that's
happens, you're going to be pretty fucking thrilled. You're
yeah.
going to be like, God damn. And I told somebody that once, and they're like, well, that's a negative way to look at life. It's not. That person who responded to me is the kind of person who separates it and is like, no, it's black and white. No, it's not negative. It's just a better way of thinking. It's almost a more positive way of looking at life, where it's like, if I just expect this to be shitty, I'm always being rewarded in life, you know? And if it turns out to be shitty, I'm not being disappointed, you know?
Well, it's not like you're, you know, it's not like if somebody's like, "Hey, Chase, you should come, you know, look at these Christmas lights this weekend with me." You're not like, "Well, that sounds lame, but all right."
Right. Yeah.
And then go
Right.
there and
Right.
you're like, "Well, I guess maybe not as lame as I thought, but it could have been
Mhm.
better." You know, it's
Yeah.
not like you have that sort of mindset in life. It's just one of those things that you're
We can
like,
go back to Spider-Man as a great example.
you
Fucking
know, well, no, to me, it's
Eternals.
like, well, to me, it's like if I'm going to a light set, if I go to like view lights, I'm not expecting like a motherfucking light volcano or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
expecting some, you know, just basic
Oh,
regular
you
lights.
know.
Now, if I go there and there's like an animatronic light at the end, it blows my fucking mind, dude.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm looking at it when I say don't have those.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, I look at like a worst expectation, and it, like I
Mm.
said, it's not like when I go on a date for the first time, I don't go, "Oh, this is gonna be miserable. This is gonna fail. We're gonna hate each
Right.
other, blah, blah, blah."
Right.
No, I just look at it like
Just being realistic, you know?
I just go into it like I'm gonna go hang out with this person like an hour, maybe to vibe a little bit, and it's just gonna be is what it is. It ain't no big thing.
Mhm.
Whatever. That's just what it is. And then like, you know, so then when you go down there and then you're like, damn, I kind of like this person and they're clicking with you, you're like, damn, oh shit. Didn't expect this.
Mhm.
That's what's
Right.
up.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You know, if you go in thinking you're about to meet the love of your life, and you're gonna be Gucci after this, and you know, get married and all that shit, and you go in and you don't vibe, like, yeah, you're gonna leave that date hella disappointed.
Well, it's like not even that, or not vibing, or they don't vibe with you. Like that'd be another one of just you
Mhm.
going in there just overconfident.
Right. Yeah.
Don't try.
But I honestly I think Spider-Man is a fantastic example, and we're about to close out the year of the spider, so it's appropriate. You know, the expectations are high for that. But, you know, even taking just a small piece of expectations, which is Toby and Andrew being in the movie. That's a very small piece of all of the expectations that people have for this movie. But I'm going into this movie with the thought of they might not be in this thing. You know, that's all there is to it. So if we go see this and Toby Maguire and Andrew Garfield are not in this movie, I am not going to be that disappointed because I went into this thinking that that was a possibility. If they show up, my mind's going to be fucking blown. I'm going to be like, "Wow, that this is the greatest fucking Spider-Man movie ever." But, you know, like with you know, Eternals was a miss for me. That was the first Marvel movie that was just like it just did not hit for me at all. And so there's that in my mind. Going into Spider-Man is like I think Spider-Man will be really good, but I'm also going into it being like, yeah, I thought Eternals was going to be really good too, and look how that fucking turned out. And so going into it with that attitude, it's like, damn, yeah, this is a pretty good movie. You know, there have been some really mediocre movies I've gone into with a super low bar and then been like, yo, that was lit.
True.
Resident Evil is a great example of one that's out right now that my bar was pretty fucking low. And I left being like, yeah, it's pretty good. It's flawed as hell. I get why people don't like it, but my expectations were not that high. So they didn't have a high bar to fucking clear. But that's also not to say to lower your standards, you know? You can lower your expectations without lowering your standards, you know, your your expectations of your quality of life. People think they got to settle to lower the bar on things. That's not the case.
No, definitely not.
No. No,
That ain't no way to
sir.
live. That ain't no way to live.
No. No, no,
No,
no.
no.
To tack something on to fill this last bit of time, since we didn't do Mental Health Monday last week, honestly, if we did it last week, I think I would have wanted to talk on aging a little bit, and just like I don't know. For me, 27's been beating my ass so far. 27's like welcome to the end game of your 20s. I'm like, okay, bet. You know, like my knee started giving out yesterday. Like, you know, I drive at night and I'm like, I can't see, you know, fucking just shit like that. But, you know, I've also been faced with a lot of mortality, I feel like, everywhere I go. You know, a lot of people dying very suddenly, from, you know, people who are close to me, losing loved ones just out of the blue. And that's really opened my eyes to things. And I just, you know, I've really had this attitude of just really trying to appreciate the
Yeah.
moments, you know, with everybody,
Oh
you
yeah.
know. And not that I haven't always lived my life that way, but lately I've definitely just been like, you know, this is important. We you know, you got to appreciate who you're
Jeez.
with when you're with them, you know.
I'm having like a yawn attack over here, man. I don't know
Yeah.
what happened, but I
Sorry
hit.
to fucking bore you with
You're not
my
boring me over here. It's just like I hit like I don't know, like
yeah.
7:25, 7:30 hit, and I was like, damn, I'm sleepy. But that's like, oh, I haven't done anything. I'm on vacation this whole week. So
Man.
it's like, why am I so tired? I guess I stayed up till midnight putting all those fucking pops on that shelf back there.
Oh shit. It's looking good. Nice.
They're all in different spots. You can't really see them from this distance, but I counted them all last night, and I have 105 in my room.
No shit. Wow.
Yeah,
You do have a lot. I thought you
in
had a lot. Now I know
in
you have
my
a lot.
in my room alone, I was like, God damn, that's a lot. But I've got them now, like all in certain spots. I had to be like weird about it, I guess. Because like my Marvel ones, I got them all up on the top shelf, but I was like, well, there's a lot of these, so I can't really put all of them up here. So I had to limit them to like these ones are the ones that are still around in the MCU right now. It's like on my shelf over here, I got like Captain America and Iron Man and Black Widow because they're not around no more. It's like, Get out of here.
R.I.P. Way to tie it back into the mortality conversation.
Yeah, see, so like they're like over here, and then like there's some random ones over here, and then like I got a couple random ones up top, but like I don't know, they're all like in a little like you can't, like I said, you can't really tell, but it's like the whole top shelf is like all pretty much all Marvel, besides like two on the inner like Christmas Batman and Christmas Superman because it's Christmas, but the rest are like Marvel MCU and then X-Men at the end, and then let's see on this side, I don't know, this is my right side, I don't know, and it looks like left on there. It's weird because it's like the middle, the shelf going down is the Justice League, obviously.
Mhm.
Got Superman and all of them. The one below that is just literally all Batman, all Batman. I got a whole shelf full of Batman, and then the bottom whole thing is like all these random DC ones of like, you know, Flash characters and Green Arrow characters from the
I feel
CW.
like after our like almost 2 month hiatus from our Wednesday shows, I feel like we're due for
Oh
a
yeah.
talk on some nerdy shit. I feel like we've got a lot of things to cover from the past
Oh
couple of
yeah.
months.
Oh yeah. We could probably hit
Uh,
that up.
yeah, Hawkeye's back, so
Yeah.
we'll hit everybody with something.
But yeah, then I got the Ninja Turtle shelf. There's a whole shelf of Ninja Turtles up there. And then I had to laugh because then it's like, so those are like the only ones that I really ever collected. And besides, like, then I was looking at, so I have a whole shelf of like paired ones.
Yeah,
So apparently, like, if I don't buy, like, most of the time, if I don't buy a horror or Marvel or DC or Ninja Turtles, it's just like in pairs because I got like, let's see, SpongeBob and Patrick, right? And then I got Shags and Scooby, and then I got Willy Wonka and an Oompa Loompa. I've
nice.
got Bob Ross and a little raccoon, and the Mad Hatter and the Cheshire Cat. And then over here I got Sean and his buddy from Shaun of the Dead. I forget what that.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Ed.
Yeah, Ed. There you go. So it's like I was laughing because I was like, man, you know, besides like a handful of these, like I got, you know, like obviously I got like Quail Man sitting right here. So it's like besides like Quail Man, I got Jay Cutler and shit like that.
Well,
It's like most of them are like either like these set ones or they're doubles.
right. We'll have to hit. I feel like I know we've been talking on the summer camp pops, and I feel like those are perfect for pairs. Get a Chase and Shep pair, get a Snorhees and Damien pair, uh,
So many, man,
uh,
because then you do
Annie and John,
Annie
and
and
Alice
John,
and Sean.
Alice and Sean, and then the two, or the I guess the one evil person, Jack.
Right,
So I
right.
guess he would. I'd give us all, like, the way I looked at it earlier today was like I'd give us all variants. I'd want like everybody regular and then everybody covered in blood. Like the twins would be in a 2-pack.
Oh,
You know
the
what I'm saying?
twins. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that's who I was
twins. Yep,
thinking of. The twins would be the two
that'd be a
pack
good one.
of a really cool one of doing like regular them and then
And then
zombie
the
them.
zombie ones. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that was the one I was just thinking
Funko,
of.
give us a call. Give
I
us a
mean, they're good.
call.
I mean,
We need some
I think
pops.
there should be a way that you could go through their company and customize your own set.
Yeah, I'm sure there
I'm
are.
sure it'd be fucking expensive as shit,
Yeah.
but
I know we talked about other ones too, like for Easter Sunday, getting an Easter bunny and Jesus Shep. Although when I was thinking of the Easter bunny in my head, I would want it to be like a pop version of me in the Easter bunny costume. So like with the neck open and everything, like so it's clearly somebody in an Easter bunny costume. That'd be
yeah,
rad.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, no, yeah. I don't know
Funko
how
hire
to.
us.
I know there's
Here's a
people that
job.
make these customized. I just have no fucking clue how you would go about doing that. So
We'll figure it out. I'm sure. I'm sure.
I know there's people that do like clay, like they put some sort of like clay stuff on them.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I guess the only other thing that I could think that you could do to like make them like something would be to use the do it yourself model and like
Mhm.
be able to upload that onto a 3D printer into where you
Oh,
could
I
like
gotcha.
accessorize it like with the hair and the
Mhm.
face and anything like that, and then 3D print all of that onto the already pop and then just paint it yourself.
I
Which
gotcha.
sounds, now that I'm saying it like that, sounds a very doable way to go about doing that,
Yeah.
to actually tell you the truth.
Well,
And those things I do feel like they do run fairly cheap. But you know,
This
one of these days.
has nothing to do with mental health anymore. We just
Never.
killed that time. You know, that Chase and Shep vibe. Fucking uh but yeah, mental health Monday. This was a good one. I was looking forward to this conversation today. Facing your
Nice.
fantasies. I hope everybody enjoyed. Thanks to the people who popped in. You know, hopefully we'll be back up and running fully with things here soon. We got fucking 25 slays 2 starts in 2 days. Mark your calendars.
We
That's
got to
fucking
think of
insane.
a good name for it because
I just keep
Slays
calling it 25 slays 2.
25 Slays 2 Electric Boogaloo is not gonna do it. So we're gonna have to think of something else.
I was gonna I was gonna say electric boogaloo, but just change it out electric for like some sort of Christmas time thing. I don't know. I got nothing
We'll
clearly.
figure
So
it
we'll
out.
figure it out. We got 2 days. We got 2 days. Don't worry about it. But Mental Health Monday. Face those fantasies. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your people. Um, you know, live your life. Get that mind right. And
Hopefully the
we'll be back
fantasies
with you.
are more like ludicrous fantasies. Fantasy.
Peace. On that note,
Deuces, deuces.
peace.